Hi, I'm Alex, and this video is for all of you international listeners and watchers. Actually, it's more watchers out there. This video will be in English, and it will be a recap of a road trip I've recently done. It's actually the first part of the road trip, which I already published 2 videos about, however they are in German, and the road trip is from Hamburg all the way down to the Alps in Austria, where I went skiing. So yes, I will talk you through basically all the interesting parts while I play back the video of me driving. So in the German videos, there are some parts of me talking and some parts of driving, and while I'm driving, there's just some music playing. But for you guys, I'll be narrating the driving parts, and yeah, so let's just start right off. Let's go. Okay, so here I am starting off in Hamburg. It's the city of Hamburg. I parked my car there. I actually already pushed the address which I want to go to from my phone, and I preheated it. This is obviously in the winter. I filmed this, well, the whole road trip was in February, so only a couple of days ago, beginning of February. So here you can see me driving through kind of the downtown parts and just some streets of Hamburg, some bigger streets actually. And I am in a Tesla Model S90D, which is pretty cool. It's a lot of fun to drive that car. So anyway, we are now entering the German Autobahn, and it's famous for its unrestricted speed limit. So there is no speed limit, the lack of the speed limit. And you can actually see me driving pretty fast on some stretches, but then again pretty slow on some others. And that's not only due to traffic, or the trucks, for example, which are only allowed to drive at 55 miles an hour. I think it's 55. It's 80 kilometers an hour. So for example, here you can see me passing them, obviously driving faster. But there's also a lot of construction going on, which is usually limited to 80 or 60 kilometers an hour. 80 kilometers an hour being 55, 60 being, I want to say like 45 or something miles an hour, 40 miles an hour. Anyway, and here you can definitely see me driving a little faster. I did do on stretches where it was unrestricted and I did have enough battery and everything. I did do 100 miles an hour. I did go up to 120 miles an hour at some point, but anyway, you can kind of see it. So here I'm exiting the highway, driving up to the first supercharger. I left Hamburg at night, so at 6 p.m. in the evening after I was done working on a Tuesday. And the entire trip is around 900 something kilometers, like almost 1,000. And I'm here in the kind of middle German part where there are some mountains. It's called Harz. And for those of you who don't know this, there will be a map right here. You can see the map with some stats. So I left and drove for about 2 hours or something, and you can see my average speed is around 65 miles an hour, and now I'm leaving again, but 65 miles an hour, you might say, hey Alex, that's pretty slow, but actually it isn't. So if you average around 65 or even above, let's say if you average 65 or above, you're doing a pretty decent job, because remember, there's a lot of construction. Not all of the German Autobahn is unrestricted. A lot of it is also restricted to 120 kilometers an hour or even 130 kilometers an hour, sometimes 100, or 80 in a construction zone, or 60 kilometers, all of those. So to get to an average then again of, you know, a couple hundred kilometers an hour or above 100 kilometers an hour or 65 miles an hour, it does take something, especially if you start off in the city with slow city driving and stop and go traffic. Anyway, as I said, this is a pretty long road trip, almost 600 miles, and I will not be doing this in a single trip, and you'll see what I mean by this. But you just saw me, supercharge, and it was actually supercharging so fast. You might have seen my old videos with a Tesla Model S90D, and that wasn't charging quite as fast. The bigger packs with Teslas, they can take more charge, or a higher charge rate, so they're done quicker. And now, because it's kind of late, me driving right there is around 8:30 p.m. or something, maybe 9 p.m. Yeah, probably 9 p.m. or so, or 9:30. I did, need to eat something. I wanted to get some dinner at some point, so this is me pulling over to the next supercharger. Was only around an hour of driving away, so 120 kilometers. Yeah, that's around 70 miles. And you can see the supercharger right here. And actually, a lot of those are already equipped with the dual kind of connector for the new Model 3, which comes with a CCS plug, which is quite cool. So here you can see the part that I drove. This time a little bit faster, I want to say. Consumption fairly high, you know, me driving really fast on some stretches and slow on the other, and it was getting colder and colder as I was traveling south. Okay, so that was the Burger King I ate at, and it was insane. I was never waiting for the car to be ready to be charged. So on the previous stop, you know, I went to the bathroom, I did some short video clips of, you know, filming the car from the outside, and it was basically done. Like the car was done after I was doing that. And I was like, dang, I wanted to eat something, but I decided to, you know, drive one more supercharger down the road and then have some lunch, some dinner at the Burger King you just saw. And here I'm driving again, more south. So this entire trip is me driving south. Stay tuned for another recap video after I publish the German version, which will be a video of me driving back up north, which I've already done, obviously, because I am currently back in Hamburg. Anyway, you see that sometimes it's even only 2 lanes, so you get stuck behind slow traffic. It's funny, we call it an elephant race if there's the 2 big 18-wheelers or, you know, kind of 2 big trucks next to one another, one passing the other. That's crazy, it's really annoying. Yeah, so here's me actually going to the next supercharger, and as I said, this is a really, really long trip. So I decided to leave at Tuesday night and then sleep. But where can I sleep? Yes, you might remember I did sleep before in a Tesla. It's on my kind of older videos, and I've decided to do the same again. Now, back then I said it's not really comfortable. Here's the map again. Back then I said it's not really comfortable except for the heat. Like, there's a camper mode in Tesla, you can leave the heat running, it's super awesome. But the other one wasn't really comfortable. Now the Model S didn't really change much from perspective, but you can see me here kind of unpacking a bed. It's from Dreamcase. They make beds for all sorts of cars, not only for Teslas, but they kind of got famous with the Tesla beds. And it makes camping in a Model S super premium. It is insane how kind of nice this actually is. And apart from a little kind of bump you still have in the mattress, it does flatten out the back, even with the bump between the seats, really well, because you actually use the case and put it there. So it comes in this nice box. It does cost quite a lot. There's a lot of videos of it in English, actually. Maybe not as many in German. I saw a couple, but yeah. Anyway, you see me here basically doing the bed, and this was me doing it for the first time. So I hadn't set anything up. I hadn't practiced before. It took me around 15 minutes to do this, and honestly, if I would go there, if I would go camping again in a Tesla, or this kind of overnight camping, not on an official campsite, but rather just on the side of the street, I would definitely set this up in advance. And this is kind of what I did here, because I set this up, and now I'm actually leaving. You can see it in a second here. This is how it looked like. Quite comfy, I have to say. It does look comfy. So here's me actually leaving the supercharger again. I was planning on sleeping there, but I noticed that there isn't really a great spot to sleep there. Anyway, so I'm heading now over to the next supercharger. At this point, it's around 1 a.m. Yeah, it's pretty much, maybe it's like 12:45 or something, but it's late in the night. But the next stretch is only an hour drive, so another 120 Ks or something, another 60 something, 70 miles or so. And since it's so late at night, it is, you know, the streets are pretty empty, and I can basically hammer it through. And there were quite a couple of construction sites in there that are really narrow, and it's much just safer, I would even say, and easier to navigate this with no traffic. So you can see one here, than with, you know, people passing you on the left. And me driving a freaking Model S, which is a spaceship. It's super wide. It's a boat on the right. So here I am exiting the highway, or the German Autobahn. Autobahn is really, like, it is a highway. Like, there's no other word for highway in German. It's just called Autobahn. For those of you who are wondering. And you pretty much pronounce it Autobahn if you really want to say German. And here's me now actually pulling into the supercharger where I'm sleeping in, and this is the next morning. So I slept in the car. For those of you wondering, it was really comfy. It was -6 degrees Celsius, and you just saw what that's in Fahrenheit. So it was super cold. So I set the heat fairly high to, I want to say 24 degrees Celsius or something. That's, doing the conversion in my head, like 75 Fahrenheit, something like that, 76. Not quite sure, but anyway, fairly high. And it was super nice. I slept really well, didn't get cold, lost about 10% of range during that time, which isn't that bad. And you can see that the next morning was beautiful. It was amazing. My car was still charged pretty high. I plugged it into the supercharger. It was still at 78%, and I just plugged it in real quick while I went to the bathroom in the morning. And it gets colder and colder. And you can see that the trees are all covered with a little bit of snow actually, and some. What's the English term? I can't quite remember, but they're all frozen. You can see this here pretty well. And it gets even colder here. It was, I don't know, like -15 or something degrees Celsius. Crazy. And the car was still performing super well, right? It was really nice. And the sun is now coming out, and I'm switching over to another highway, which it has already, the sign up there says to Switzerland and actually Austria. So, so this is me again passing some other slower cars. Model S is pretty fast. And I'm now exiting the highway. Now, I didn't have to exit here. I could have driven a little further and taken another supercharger. There are, sorry, for all of those of you who are wondering, there are so many superchargers in Germany. There's more than enough. On this trip, I could have taken, like, the options were plenty. Anyway, but I had to stop here because you have to pay toll. Not in Germany, on German Autobahn, but on the highway, or Autobahn, whatever, in Austria. And in Austria, this was kind of the last supercharger not in Austria. So I had to buy a little, it's called vignette, and you just stick it under the windshield. Like it's a sticker basically, and you put it on the inside of your windshield, and it's being read by some automated sensors, which then, make sure you pay for this. So this is the last leg of this trip to the Austrian Alps. And it was super cool. Like in the beginning, as you see right here, are some tunnels, and it was a little bit cloudy and foggy at some points. And I'm gaining a lot of elevation during this entire drive. Hamburg is pretty much down flat on sea level at some points, and then it goes all the way up to the Alps. So obviously a lot of elevation gain, and you'll see this at the end. But it gets super nice in a minute here. When I pulled out of the other side of this tunnel, I feel like all the clouds kind of just got stuck there. And when I exited, yeah, I guess not quite, but just in a little bit, you'll see that it turns into a beautiful day right here. The sun is out. I'm hammering it now in Austria. So this is already in Austria. There's no real border. You just drive through. This is all in, the Schengen room, the Schengen region. And now you can see the mountains. Doesn't this look beautiful? I mean, the Alps are one of the most amazing and beautiful and gorgeous regions in all of Europe. So there's, the Alps are in Germany, they're in Italy, they're in Austria, they're in Switzerland, any of those places. If you go to the Alps, it's beautiful. And we had so much snow. I mean, look at this. The streets are basically kind of guarded by mountains of snow on the left and right side. And so this is me taking the scenic route. There's a new tunnel, but I decided to drive over the mountain. Did have plenty of charge to do this on the car, and running up the mountains in Austria here. And you can already see that this is amazing to go skiing, which was my main objective while I was, this was the whole purpose of me driving down there, to go skiing. And this is basically the last part of the stretch, the last stretch of road that takes me up to the hotel, which I stayed in, which did have a destination charger, which is really cool. So I was able to park there and charge for free. So I left yesterday. So I drove back yesterday, actually, from me recording this right now. So well, I'll just turn to Monday. But anyway, so I left with a full tank of gas, a full battery in this case, obviously. And you can see right here, there's the car with the destination charger. You are able to see in the back. So it was it's cool if hotels have this. Really, it's awesome. And just as a kind of overall recap, take a look at this. I will switch over in a second. Yeah, right here. So you can see this is the entire trip. So 596 miles, visited 5 superchargers, and gained over 4,000 feet of elevation. And it was 9 hours of pure driving time. And I want to say it was around 12 hours in total. I left at 6. But so me saying 12 hours in total doesn't mean I couldn't have done this faster. As I said, sometimes the car was way charged to a much higher state of charge than it had to have been, or than I needed it to be at. Sorry, me not looking in the camera just now. I was still checking the screen in the back. Anyway, so to close this point, I could have done this. I want to say I could have done this even faster, but it was a road trip. Road trip is supposed to be fun and relaxing, and it was a lot of driving, obviously. 600 miles, 1,000 kilometers all by yourself in the car. But autopilot took a lot of the stress off. It was super easy on me as a driver, and it did a really great job. Unfortunately, it's only available up to 150 kilometers an hour, which is 90 miles an hour or so. So if you want to go faster, which I did a couple of times, you have to manually steer and drive and apply the throttle and stuff like that. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this. It's kind of a little different from my other road trip videos where I was talking more while I was doing this. Obviously, I did this, but I was talking in German, so maybe for some of you this isn't of as much use, and this is better. So stay tuned for the next recap, which will come out in a couple of days after I edit and upload the German version of the last stretch. Basically, the last stretch is me driving back from Austria all the way to Hamburg in a single day. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you're interested. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Hope you take something from this, learn something from it. And I want to leave you with one really important thing that I just feel really passionate about is, if you've never driven an EV, definitely drive one. That's obviously a given here. But if you have the chance, and I know that especially in the US, you have Turo, and so many people are renting out their Teslas on Turo. Turo is an app, Turo, where you can rent other people's cars, which are usually a little bit nicer cars than just regular rental cars. Anyway, if you have the chance, if you have the money, take out a Tesla for a weekend, go on a road trip. A lot of those Teslas come with unlimited supercharging, so even if you rent them on Turo, the owners will usually let you have it for basically no gas charge. So take a long road trip, use the superchargers, make sure to get at least, I want to say, maybe a Tesla 90D or 100D. That would be awesome, or even P100D, but a higher battery pack one, or even a Model 3. Those things charge really quick. And do a long road trip. See how easy it is for yourself and how much fun it is to drive. And let me know what you think down in the comment section of this video. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Anyway, other than that, check out my last episode of Popular Polls. It's a weekly show I'm doing actually in English. You can answer a question. We get to talk a little bit. Leave your comments there, and the next one will be there next Sunday. So I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully see you in the next video. All right, bye.